Good evening and welcome to the Tibet Center here at 151 West 30th Street, third floor. We will begin by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there together with their near ones who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear,
transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow.
all the Buddhas
Who dwell in the past,
present and future, by means of
transcendent knowledge, awaken
to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tadyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, "Good, good, O son of noble family. Transcendent should be just as you are taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice." When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. Now we'll generate bodhicitta. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, so we will now recite, we'll do one rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum, and this being the mantra of compassion, compassion being that wish to remove the suffering of others. You can imagine that you are assuming the suffering of others and that it diminishes your self-cherishing, which you can visualize as a flame at your hearts. And then as you breathe out, you can think that you are bestowing all your accumulated virtue and merit to others. So you can actually, instead of just thinking of compassion, work at imagining, engaging in compassion. Okay. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Hum mani padme hum. Okay. Maybe can someone close that? Thank you. So, we've been discussing. Oh, welcome back. You away?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It's an extra copy.
So we've been discussing for the last many weeks. We've been discussing how to view phenomena, how to view ourselves, to see how to understand dependent origination and how to apply it to phenomena and to ourselves. And now, after many, many weeks of doing that, we are entering into how to find happiness.
What page?
49.
Thank you.
This is how to find happiness. Thank you very much. Happiness is warm. So what is happiness? Let's discuss this a little bit.
The
What?
absence of suffering.
Yeah? Remove suffering and you have happiness?
It's very helpful.
Sorry?
It's very helpful. If you're
It's
gonna be-
helpful to remove suffering if you want happiness. Yeah. So what would happen? How would you describe what happiness is? What is that state of happiness? What is it? I mean, we seek happiness, yes? Is that our motivation? What has brought you all here?
Positivity.
Okay. I came here for happiness. What brought you here?
Oh, snacks.
Snacks. We don't have any snacks. Sorry? Bread. Oh, they have some snacks.
We brought some.
Snacks for the lady.
So, so we've been discussing when we talk about this sense of self and how it is dependently originating, that there is not something you can point at. One of the reason that we seek to identify this lack of self is that grasping at a sense of self is what causes us to engage in the actions that then make us unhappy. The more we engage in a sense of self, the more we... I think Tony is looking for happiness.
What you wanted.
Cookie.
Everyone was complaining, no, thanks, Coach, you got it.
So happiness comes in a...
This is in a cookie.
Yes. No thanks, no thanks. No. I have found... You think you can find happiness in a cookie? That would mean that the more cookies you have, the happier you are. I have discovered that if you have many cookies, you will be unhappy.
It's okay. Not sure it works like that.
Cheers. So, I have observed that we all naturally desire happiness and not to suffer. I have suggested, furthermore, that these are rights from which, in my opinion, we can infer that an ethical act is one which does not harm others' experience or expectation of happiness. And I've described an understanding of reality which points to a commonality of interest in respect to self and others. let us now consider the nature of happiness. The first thing to note is that it is a relative quality. We experience it differently according to our circumstances. What makes one person glad may be a source of suffering to another. So, happiness is a relative concept. Relative. What are we getting to? I would like to hear your opinions. Dr. David, we're discussing happiness. Do you have medicines that can bring about happiness?
There's no one size fits all.
No? So you have big pills, little pills that fit different.
Well, to oversimplify Chinese medicine, it's the depression is the concept of the yang qi not arriving at the brain, like not arriving at the brain. But there's a lot of reasons why that could happen. There could be somebody where just there's not enough yang qi in the body. There's somebody where the yang qi is not producing enough blood to carry it to the brain, which carries the neurochemicals that makes us happy within the blood. Or most commonly in modern Western society, there's quote unquote damn phlegm or fluid retention inflammation obstructing the circulation of yang qi or blood from the brain. So this is why psychotherapy is wonderful, but obviously if there's a physical impairment in the mechanism, from our perspective, in some cases, psychotherapy can only take the patient so far if the little substance just isn't there in the body. Yeah.
So we have to find some yang qi.
Yeah. My daughter has it in spades. She's got plenty. But as we get older, it gets more and more
Phlegmatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Phlegmatic. You said phlegm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the closest way it would translate in biomedical terms is plaques in the body or fluid retention, anything from edema to fatty liver to any form of plaque in the body is this, ancient Chinese concept of phlegm or dampness. And so, it will obstruct flow, obviously, and so in obstructing blood flow to the brain, it's literally obstructing the flow of serotonin or any number of neurochemicals that make us happy.
So as we
Think of this energy. So like happiness is a form of yang. It's energy, really, right? Like there's something synonymous about exhaustion and depression. It's a bit vague, but there's still something synonymous about that. Sorry.
No, everything that you've said, we all recognize, and we as we navigate life, we seek to find those little perks that make us happier, but mostly in our society today, especially, we seek little thrills that give us little boosts of highs of happiness.
Pathological
Yang.
Pathological yang.
Pathological yang.
Pain would be like the ultimate, where it's yang, right? But it is this like very pathological, and so it dries out the body, obviously, and it's weight.
So we are seeking a happiness that transcends all that. We are seeking something that is not dependent on outside stimuli, whether they are, chemical or whether they are just the thrills of life. What we should work towards is a happiness that has a solidity, that has a foundation of solidity that enables us to navigate the challenges in life. And I feel that His Holiness is having taken us through this long path of exploring the ways in which we are interdependently existent and therefore lacking any kind of solid and intrinsically existent me or self. What we've, I think, been shown in that process is that holding on to a sense of self, clinging to it, is what causes us to be unhappy, is what causes us to engage in actions that make us unhappy, is what causes us to I don't know, indulge in and seek the short term thrills that actually inhibit the kind of happiness that we're actually seeking. Profound peace, profound. You were saying that the happiness is the removal of suffering, finding a place where we have removed suffering, and I go back to in now going to Buddhism, the whole idea of self and holding on to self is the source of all suffering. And though we can diminish the tendency towards behavior that causes suffering, to actually uproot suffering, you have to uproot a clinging to a sense of self. You have to uproot that concept of me. So the pursuit of happiness and the understanding of selflessness, we have to really understand as working together. I don't know how this relates to the Chinese medicine concept, but
well, they do when they talk about the seven affects, the seven emotions that are harmful to the body. One of the affects they talk about is joy. But what they're referring to, of course, is not, what you're talking. What they're referring to is not like peaceful contentment. They're referring to maniacal celebration. Is actually considered a harmful affect, right? Sort of when they're referring to joy as a harmful affect, they're referring to this idea of some weekend narcotics binge at a rock show. That's the kind of joy affect that they're talking about being harmful, excessive quote unquote joy. Yeah.
You know what I think about it is I have like sort of a different idea about it, and that isn't at a very basic level like the freedom from want, like you don't have like deep wants and desires of material things, or that's the whole clinging of things, which is not necessarily what I'm sorry, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
That's okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying like it's just freedom of want that I don't want a fancy car, I don't need a fancy car. Some people do, and that makes them unhappy. I feel pretty content in my life, and maybe call it contentment, but at the same time, like I was thinking of like right at this moment, like I didn't get a good night's sleep last night, I only maybe got 4 hours of sleep. So I'm not, from a physical standpoint, I'm not feeling very great because I'm tired. But at the same time, as I'm walking over here, I'm feeling quite good and walking around the city. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty content. I feel happy and everything, even though, and that could exist at the same time that there could be suffering around other people's lives, but I feel relatively happy on an above average level, I would say, like that. So I don't know if I'm saying very much. I'm saying freedom from want and content is happiness.
and 8 hours of sleep.
That helps.
It does.
I totally agree with you and Kim and even Dr. saying, I have a little experience through the blessings of His Holiness. And the first time meeting him was back in KHENSUR's monastery for grand opening in Canal, right? Yeah. Canal Monastery. Back in 1997. So I was told by Mr. Tong, Eddie Tong, that, you know, he invited me to go, and he said, you're gonna meet this person, and you're gonna be so happy. You've never been happy before. So in my question, you know, that why I haven't been happy before? What is happiness, you know? So I was thinking all that time going there. So finally I have the chance to meet His Holiness and able to shake his hand and then have the opportunity to even walk him through a little path. And then through that, I was so blessed. I totally understand the feeling of happiness is that your mind or maybe your heart is open. You feel so light, like you have no worry, no angry, but you're totally aware of your surroundings. Like what I mean, like no angry, because I got home like after the events, I went home. That's like after a few days, I encountered some like something that's really bad, you know, some kind of anger to a third person, but I have no anger toward that person. Instead, I feel like so empathy, you know, her, and I'm making a wish that I wish I can take her suffering. Yeah. And then I pray for her through His Holiness blessing. So besides that, the whole week, I feel like my heart's open. Yeah. It's that kind of feeling. I feel like, oh, this is happiness. Yeah. Like no anger, no stress, no burden. Yeah, you're just like totally, your mind's open, but you're aware of everything around you. You care for people. I said, oh, this is happiness. This is the mind of His Holiness. Yeah, I was, being blessed. So blessed that week.
So your ability to experience that after having met His Holiness
Right.
is, yes, it's a blessing. I think that viewing things as blessings is important, but we also, according to the laws of karma, we have done the virtuous actions that enable us to have that blessing. In other words, the blessing comes as a result of our meriting to have that. And the work to get to that point is on our shoulders. We can work towards having that experience. I think that that blessing is like a taste.
Yeah, exactly. A taste of the real happiness. It's like, oh, this is happiness. Like I feel my body, my mind is like lift. No burden, no worry, no angry, no, you know, yeah. This is
So
happiness.
no worry, no anger, no.
No burden, you know, like
So all these things, no worry, no anger, no burden, all the having worry, having anger, having burden, all are experiences that we have as a result of this investment in a sense of self. It's not that we decide I'm going to invest in a sense of self. This has been, as they say, the way we have operated since infinite, beginningless time. But we do have the opportunity, the ability to diminish that sense of self so that we approach and eventually attain the state that you're talking about. It's attainable. That's the good news. And how we go about it, I think that having that taste, I think that having that experience of it is a real eye-opener. And what's interesting about it is that it's not a question of going to a fancy, nice place. It happens wherever you happen to be. It's a question of being content with just what you have. You were talking about contentment. Contentment is a really important ingredient in this process. Contentment is not indulging in desire or attachment, it's being content with. So let's go on with His Holiness's. So it is a relative quality. We experience it differently according to our circumstances. What makes one person glad may be a source of suffering to another. Most of us would be extremely sorry to be sent to prison for life. Yet a criminal under threat of the death penalty would likely be very happy to be reprieved with a sentence of life imprisonment. Second, it is important to recognize that we use the same word, happiness, to describe very different states. Although this is more obvious in Tibetan, where the same word, dewa, which is more like bliss, is also used for pleasure. We speak of happiness in connection with bathing in cool water on a hot day. We speak of it in connection with certain ideal states, such as when we say, I would be so happy to win the lottery. We also speak of happiness in relation to simple joys of family life. Now, these are all here. Getting into a cool body of water when it's hot, winning the lottery, and simply enjoying the joys of life. Now, these are different. Getting into water when it's hot is a happiness that depends on outer stimuli. You need to get into the cool water in order to experience that. Winning the lottery, again, demands something from the outside happening. Happiness in relation to simple joys of family life. The way it's presented there suggests that the happiness is a quality of contentment. It's, family life doesn't always go well, but if we are contented within a family environment, we'll be happy. If we aren't contented, we'll be frustrated and unhappy. So that I think that the third of those three examples is a little different, because it's a happiness that comes from our side, that is not provided by the outside. And I think that that's the quality of happiness that we should seek. A little chocolate from time to time is good too, I see someone really wants chocolate over here. Okay. So in this last case, happiness is more of a state that persists in spite of ups and downs. This is the family life happiness and occasional intermissions. So to seek happiness that persists in spite of ups and downs and occasional intermissions, that's what we have to work towards. But in the case of bathing in cool water on a hot day, because it is the consequence of an activity which seeks to please the senses, it is necessarily transient. If we remain in the water too long, we start to feel cold. Indeed, the happiness we derive from such activities depends on their being short-lived. In the case of winning a large sum of money, the question of whether it would confer lasting happiness or merely the sort that is soon overwhelmed by the problems and difficulties that cannot be solved by wealth alone depends on the one who wins it. So here, if we win the lottery, our own ability to navigate how we behave in respect to it, how we handle it, is what determines whether we're happy or not the wealth that we assume by winning the lottery. But generally speaking, even if the money brings us happiness, it tends to be of the kind which money can buy, material things and sensory experiences. And these, we discover, become a source of suffering themselves. Now that's the whole idea that the sources of joy, the thrill of winning the lottery, itself becomes a source of suffering. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is like equanimity, though. This is kind of equating happiness with equanimity. Or not.
So you're saying happiness comes about as a result of developing equanimity. And what is equanimity?
A balance of emotions, generating a calm or peaceful feeling.
And how do you generate this equanimity?
You cast away suffering.
Yeah, and how do you go about that?
Let go of it.
So I wish it were so easy.
Yeah.
So equanimity, the term equanimity, we often, the concept of equanimity is often thought of as developing an equal attitude towards others. So that if we wish to develop, let's say, a concern for others, compassion, we have to start by developing equanimity. We have to, we can't develop true concern for others if we have attachment towards our friends and a certain sort of dislike for our enemies and a disregard for all those neutral people. We have to develop an equal concern for all. That's equanimity in
So that's the ground,
that's the
ground
way.
base then.
So you're talking about developing that equanimity towards what?
I think, I'm not sure what you're trying to say, but when I think of equanimity, it's a kind of resistance to being, you know, if unfortunate things happen to you, or if even aggressive things, you know, you're a victim of some sort of aggression, but is to not necessarily be more offended than you know, something happens to you, but on top of that, there's no reason to respond negatively. Oh, this has happened, so you simply accept that, and in that sense, it's a kind of, you know, more equal response. Instead of amplifying what's negative, you just sort of try and keep things level, so that, you know, at least that's the way I see it. But
So relating it to what you were talking about, you're talking about a quality of joy that's beyond equanimity. Is that? What you're describing is not just equanimity. You were talking about a quality of joy.
Ease, yeah, pure, I guess the word, yeah, no attachment, anything negative.
Yeah, it's an interesting quality of joy. It was, I'm just interested in all this discussion about happiness because we're looking, I mean, it says ethics for the new millennium. And perhaps I might have had a more puritanical kind of frame of reference before, but it seems strange to think, you know, to be talking necessarily of ethics and then be illustrating it through happiness. In other words, I believe probably since, I don't know, certainly since the 18th century and the American and French revolutions, the idea of what life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were deemed to be, reasonable goals. And I think particularly recently, many people have seen particularly pursuit of happiness since many people actually, unfortunately, are still in a situation where their life and their liberty are very much in question. But at least, in the United States here, a lot of people, we've become very much obsessed with the idea of happiness for quite a long time, it seems to me. But what exactly is that happiness? And whether is that maybe even, I sort of want to, because I think the sort of emotions that, you described before about feeling blessed to be able to feel kind towards others and feel no anger and feel no, I don't necessarily know if that falls into the idea of, I guess it's a form of happiness, but it's quite different from, I think, the kinds that we're accustomed to thinking of. I think we're more likely to think of, well, just as described here, the cool stream on a hot day, or the big pile of money, or that kind of thing. But the more subtle kind of happiness of the kind of, whether you call it moral or spiritual happiness, but we don't seem to talk about that very much, actually.
We meaning in our society,
In our
or
society.
so life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That pursuit of happiness is really why we're here, I think, on some level. And, we can, on one level, I think we've also come to understand that working towards wishing to provide others with happiness contributes to our sense of happiness. The diminishing our concern for ourselves contributes to that pursuit of happiness. So I think we're trying to find the things that augment our the happiness that we're pursuing, and developing we're trying to find let's say solidity. I don't mean it in the physical sense, to the happiness that we are pursuing. So what would be the ingredients that you would say might bring us to that more solid quality of happiness.
I think, I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but I think the big picture, the happiness is liberation. And then His Holiness spoke about happiness, feeling happy in the cool water in the hot days, or lottery, winning the lottery. But those happiness, Rinpoche mentioned a little bit about we created the cause in the past life, feeling happy. So the happiness, feeling of happiness, feeling of suffering in our mind comes from a mind which was created in the past. So those are just the conditions that the cause was created in previous life. So the question is, and then you mentioned earlier that we think that me exists. That's the source of everything. It's that we think that cool water, there's happiness in there, that it exists as solid happiness, or the money, that's like self. It's the self, is that money, happiness is in there, and that's the condition that the cause was created before the happiness comes from the mind.
So go on about how the happiness comes from the mind.
Because whatever positive feeling, what we feel in this worldly place, that causes created before, this is an effect. So that, and all those salt things that we think exist, but there's a happiness in there. I'm just repeating myself, not explaining. The positive feeling comes from a positive cause. We've been studying about people analyzing cause and effect. So that it's a karma in mind stream.
So, I mean, according to the laws of karma, if we engage in virtuous actions, we will benefit in a virtuous, beneficial way.
Yes. So the happiness, the feeling of happiness is in our mind. And also he mentioned, that His Holiness mentioned that perspective change, this person in the death row feels maybe happy if they were in just a life sentence. Again, it's a perspective. So it's the happiness is in our mind.
Yes, so happiness is not a thing out there.
It's out there. But we think it's in there. As like we think self exists. It's like the happiness is in this thing.
Chocolate doesn't have a little bit of happiness in it.
That's, I don't know.
Our Swiss friends here would say that happiness.
Is your camera?
Definitely a little tinge. No, regrettably.
I think part of it is also assigning it's sort of like assigning a quality to our perceived source of discomfort. So in your example, the person is hot and they're resisting being hot and comfortable. So cool water becomes the source of happiness because we identify the cool water as the source of mitigating our discomfort. Our discomfort can't be mitigated from within, from our perception of that moment. So if we're single, looking for a married, looking for a spouse, then we decide the entire dating pool, oh, well, that's the cool water. You know, that's what's going to mitigate my suffering because I've identified the source. I've identified loneliness or singleness as being the source of suffering, which makes a spouse inherent happiness. And anyone who's been married knows that they can be your source of happiness, and then not long later can be your source of great frustration. and anyone who has children, right? It's I mean, my daughter has in moments been my source of obviously greatest happiness, but also my my highest points of frustration as well. So which is to say, obviously, they don't have the qualities.
I have a question, so that's why I get sometimes confused. The source, the cause was created in life, previous life. So the cool water is not a source. That's just a condition. Is it?
Well,
not
it's a condition.
The source of happiness, the feeling what we feel now is created in the past life.
Yes, I mean,
That's the cause.
if we view it from the point of view of karma, then it is what our virtuous actions in the past are what cause us to experience happiness now. But we can give a little credit to the cool water on a hot day. It's a condition, but it brings about and therefore causes cool at a time when we're hot.
There's a little bit of cause.
Mm.
The main cause is created.
So if we're looking at it from a profound point of view, the main cause of all of our happiness is engaging in actions that are of benefit to others. The cause of all our unhappiness is engaging in actions out of selfishness. That's, I think, the sort of line. Now, if we take that concept and we apply it, and if we thereby really devote ourselves to benefiting others, we can bring about our happiness. We can arrive at the happiness that you were describing as a result of being blessed by His Holiness. And who is His Holiness? His Holiness is the manifestation of compassion, the manifestation of a concern for others, the manifestation of that wish to remove the suffering of others. That's what He is considered to be.
I feel like that really happy when we learned it, and then we try to, yes, first I get benefit, and what I get benefit and spread what I learned to the person around in that way. Then the people, other people around me happy, it makes me more joy. It's the what I feel. It's like, for example, Saturday I met one senior woman. She with me, she happy, she said she feel when I talking to her, she feel the warm touch and I spend the time with her. So I feel after talking to her, I should feel myself more joy and more appreciate the teachers. So what I feel better. It's like I said yesterday morning I have the class because I have the church and the phone. So I share my experience as like a team and share. I feel I get lots of blessing from Rinpoche. When I think of Rinpoche really gave me the great blessing. I feel that especially one day, I go in the hill because of the Rinpoche. It makes me really appreciate it. Even the person gives me this my life very frustrated. I'm really appreciated person, that person. I feel appreciated. Why? I think this or her so patiently give me the chance to practice the Dharma. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I said, because of Rinpoche's blessing from 180 degrees for 1 star from to the left. It's the most joyful in my life. So I always, when I have the chance, I always share my Dharma brothers. I say, please, whenever, especially there's such bad time or good time. Yes, we always say share right blessing with all people that need, right? Just a good time. But even though in the bad times, we pray and really sincere prayer, right time, sometimes the really right time, yeah, get a blessing. Unbelievably, really good blessing.
So,
One time, Rinpoche tell me go to somewhere, I want to go to place, just think, feel to go to the other side. Appreciate relatives.
but what you're saying about helping Rinpoche, the most important thing is that you were helping Rinpoche.
I'm not going to Rinpoche. Rinpoche give blessing to me and makes me happy, and I.
Yes, but from your side, I think it's important that we recognize that, yes, of course, Rinpoche gave a blessing, and His Holiness gave you, Jing, the blessing of that feeling of happiness. But the important thing is to assume responsibility for our actions and to recognize that our actions have results. It's really important to
And not just I have it, the person used to give me the always the hard time. That person is a nice person. Totally also change it. Always say I'm a nice person right now.
We think you're a nice person too, Leon. And Leon provided this little satchel of enzymes to put on my eyes with a little mask to bring sight. Thank you.
Did it work?
I can see you.
Okay.
So, I think let's just come to an ending here. So, where did we end? In the case of winning a large sum of money, the question of whether it would confer lasting happiness or merely the sort that is soon overwhelmed by problems. Yes, we came to the end of it either. If this were not the case, if in fact such actions and circumstances did not contain within them the seed of suffering, the more we indulged in them, the greater our happiness would be. Just as pain increases, the more we endure the causes of pain. But such is not the case. In fact, while occasionally we may feel we have found perfect happiness of this sort, this seeming perfection turns out to be as ephemeral as a drop of dew on a leaf, shining brilliantly one moment, gone the next. Well, I think that may be the place to So let's think about happiness as something to think about. Happiness and our responsibility. Here, June 1. Thinking about the moments of happiness within our day and seeing what actually brings about a happiness that lasts for a long time. Consider this as you go through your lives. Also, continue to consider what we were discussing before, which is the ways in which our sense of self depends on the different elements that make us up. When you view things, phenomena, a tree, try to see how the parts of the tree are what we then name tree based on. The tree that we think of as being there is a composite that we then recognize as a tree. It's not that there's a tree there among its parts. Think about those things and think about this quality of happiness and how it comes about, and watch when you eat a chocolate cake, the happiness that you have, and then that happiness simply being the result of having indulged in that wish to have the, whatever you do call it, the thrill of eating the chocolate, and think about other forms of happiness. Bring these thoughts into your lives as you go through, until next week. Okay. Or Wednesday if you come to New Jersey. So do we have people we know? All right, we'll read the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Buddha.
Learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, sharer of pure tamer of these, the unsurpassable one, teacher of idiots and Buddha, the Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the mighty marks. He blossoms with the blossoms of major marks. His activity is highly appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of Bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to Nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is deep. One never has enough to see him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from kindness. He is not possessed with doctrines. His lifetime is under control. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all wisdom. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in ultimate perfection. He dwells in the movie where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatest of the Buddha. The holy Dharma is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its teaching is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight to the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is the real property of man. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy, and puts an end to the journey. As was the Sangha of the Young, they enter completely, they enter concisely, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are filled with glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basic promotion of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure the cause of freedom and compassion, virtuous liberated from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to disciplines. They are only the merit and such virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the son of the community. I prostrate respectfully and always peacefully. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable.
Having faith is inconceivable. Therefore, the virtues are inconceivable. May they be born and be completely beyond. The 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who
Surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will learn to face them averted. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings, and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I have found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others self-justly treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer forgiveness to them. When the one who granted the way grateful unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of others. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by disdain for being worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena like illusion, be released from the bondage of attachment.
And now a prayer for the swift return. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in Brahma. So
our refuge manifest in the form of the wondering saffron rose. Guru Losam Prabhupada, please bear wisdom here today that our sins may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torture doctrine, accomplish the law of the aspirating of prayers, Lord, the speech of the great fellows of teachings, spread unity and earth by means of specialization of practice. Following commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests and to serve as the way. Yet when with authority executes of the former body, serve the welfare of others. Is that worthy of supreme mind for themselves? Shall it be possible for you to circulate this extent, to abandon your commitment to the holy policy? We beseech the new son of Manakaya, swiftly return from the ground of Takai. For all that will be of progress and disease, and can reach your father in his fellowship with religious life and goodness. May become the representative and social nature, full of the ages, and your wish for future. Return to the glory of wisdom and victory. Manifestation truth of the three precious jewels, Mahakala, Kamyama, and spiritual deity, and the angels strong protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish to sweat blossom with a renunciation and fresh burning like this.
Would you change? Thanks.
So we'll have a class on Wednesday in South Orange, New Jersey, at 7 o'clock, 502 North Ridgewood Road. Thank you. So there are photographs here of RINPOCHE that Michael has very kindly offered.
And since there's so many of them, everyone can take one.
Thank you.